It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
It's Friday. .06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's Halloween Eve, which to me is like Christmas Eve, but it's Halloween Eve. I mean, that's a holiday in itself to me. You can see it how you want.
Today's show is sponsored by banana-scented nose hair clippers.
Yum.
Clipping your nose hair never smelled so good.
I'm going to try the peach-flavored ones. They sound really good to me.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Now, usually at this time of the morning, I like to hit you with something that's just not the same typical hard news. We'll get into that later in the day. And since we're getting really close to Election Day, there's just a lot of really annoying stories out there from the press. I went looking for things that had nothing to do with election. It was very difficult to find, but I did find some stories. Yes, we will talk about Biden and Harris during the course of the morning, but just something different. Now, when I read this to you, and I mean this, if you laugh at this, you are just a horrible person. I just want to get that out of the way right now. You are a horrible person if you laugh at what I'm about to tell you here. So, I want you to picture a couple of social media, a bunch of social media influencers. These are people who are really popular on things like TikTok. Okay, and some of them even make a living, believe it or not, on just being popular, putting out different kinds of fun videos that people like to follow and being really popular. Now, the two ladies that are pictured in the story here, have themselves dressed up kind of like the Kardashians, which I don't know about you, but I've never really thought that the Kardashians were all that attractive, especially when they took one of the most macho men out there, and you saw what they did to him after he lived with them for a while. Now he doesn't even identify as a man anymore. So this is really scary. Here's the headline. Now, again, watch yourself because you don't want to be a bad person. These social media influencers, that's what they call themselves when they try to make a living being popular on social media. They refuse to wear life jackets on a yacht because it would ruin their selfies, and they didn't want tan lines either. They drowned when the boat sank. Don't. The story here says it does not pay to be an internet influencer, until you end up doing something like this. Influencers drowned during a yacht party after refusing to wear life jackets because it would ruin their selfies and tans. And it talks about I can't pronounce some of these names here, but he said some didn't want to put them on because they were busy taking selfies, which is what they do. The skipper told police he tried desperately to save everybody. One young lady's body was found first drifting out to sea. It was recovered. Another one was found dead a week later, washed up on the coast. This is all happening in Europe here. Heartbreakingly, one who could not swim had posted her last social media image as she posed on the boat in a bikini. And then whatever accident happened and the boat sank, then. So the story says you should always wear a life jacket while on a boat, especially if you can't swim. Please. A few of the women did find their way to the life jackets eventually. Local media named the survivors, and again, these are the European names. I'm not even going to try to pronounce them. I can't. They said they managed to scramble to the life jackets and cling on to anything they could. Moments in the water, no one could see anyone. Everybody was fighting for their lives. One was clutching a life jacket in her hands and clinging for dear life. She almost died, but didn't. Because at least she wasn't wearing the life jacket, but at least she was hanging on to it. So I just picture a yacht going out where, once again, social media influencers are out on the yacht for the purpose of making themselves look like something that in most cases they're not. There's a picture I saw a while ago. Some young lady dresses herself up all sexy and is posing on an airplane and talking about her private jet. And yet an actual pilot wants to know, if that's a private jet, why is the logo of the airline behind you? So this is what a lot of social media influencers do. For a good majority of them, their lives are fake. But it's what they do. And people like to follow them. Now, I will say there are some people that I follow on the internet, especially on YouTube, that are actually very good at what they do. They're very good, nice, sincere people. They're good at what they do. And I enjoy following them. So they're not all that way. I'm talking about the ones who dream of being a supermodel, being rich and famous, get out there on this yacht so they can claim that they have a yacht, and pose for pictures, take a whole bunch of selfies. Imagine guys dating that. And then something goes wrong and the boat starts to sink. If only they had listened, it probably would have been a good video. I would love to get a really nice tan, but we're out on the boat and I don't know how to swim, so I'm going to wear a life jacket while doing my post. Red and Casper said, I chuckled twice, so I'm a half horrible person. Yes, you are. DJ. DJ and Gillette, did the breast implants inflate? That's good. DJ, I just want to know. I mean, are those things supposed to be buoyant? I don't know. I mean, if breast implants were buoyant, these ladies would have been just fine. And the Coast Guard would have been there real fast. Bunny in Cheyenne, morning Bunny, she said, happy birthday boy, thank you. Same with I-80 John. Yeah, today's my birthday. Okay, so just, you don't need to tell me. Red and Casper confessed over there, and I would guess DJ and Gillette was laughing too. You're not supposed to laugh at that story. You're a horrible person. Because the 3 young ladies died as this boat sank. And they were told to put life jackets on because they were, especially the one who didn't know how to swim. You're out in the ocean, you don't know how to swim. First thing you do is you put a life jacket on as the boat, before the boat even leaves, because you never know what's going to happen. All right. I'm wondering now how they're going to handle this story in Europe. And the next thing I wonder is, does anybody learn something from this? Though, for those people who like to follow, I'm just going to say it, sexy bimbos on social media. Because again, these young ladies were all dressed up like the Kim. They're all trying to mimic Kim Kardashian, which I never really thought she was all that attractive. I mean, that's my taste anyway. So, does the crowd that follow them learn anything from this? And I bet most of you right now are thinking probably not. And I think you'd be right.
Concerns for the president's health are growing after the Secret Service reportedly discovered Joe Biden attempting to dig what appears to be his own grave on the White House lawn. Agents reported that the 81-year-old Biden was panting from exertion from the effort of digging the hole, which was nearly 5 feet deep, and that his hands and fingernails were caked in dirt. The White House has since denied that Biden was digging his own grave and insisted he was merely digging a large hole.
It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio. Join the show at 888-97-WOODS.
6:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so I'm going to clear some of this out of the way. My fault. I started it. I'll just flat out admit I started this whole thing, got you guys going. But all right, that's why we hang out together. So The opening story is there's in Europe a bunch of social media influencers, and this is mostly young ladies who dream of being Kim Kardashian types. That's what they were dressed like. Get out on a yacht, and they're all busy taking selfies and doing videos of it, and none of them wanted to wear life preservers. Don't laugh. Okay, you're just a cruel person. You're a horrible person if you laugh. So the boat runs into trouble and sinks, and a few of them die because they didn't want to wear life preservers. They're taking selfies, can't be seen with a life preserver on, and you don't want to get tan lines either. All right, so Jim and Casper, once again, I must say, shoveling global warming is hard work. Be glad when it's over. Yeah, it snowed quite I spent a lot of time cleaning off my car this morning. I-80 John, Grand Canyon. For all the environmentalist wackos who think the planet is overpopulated, we just thinned the herd. Yeah. Of those ladies who didn't survive that trip. And let's see. Hey, DJ. DJ up in Gillette wanted to know, well, didn't their breast implants, didn't they inflate? And I wanted to know if those things were buoyant or not. Do you need a life preserver with breast implants? Apparently you do. Well, Red and Casper, 3 times thanks, DJ. Yeah. Jay and Casper says, apparently the water was much deeper than were the influencers. Yeah, I get that. I really do. All right. So, and I just want to know, do you think anyone who follows them learned anything? And my answer would be, no, of course not. Look who they were following. Nobody learned a damn thing on this. But all right. Here's probably the stupid comment of yesterday. And when I first heard about this, I thought, what? All right, so Democrat vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, his wife, Gwen, they were talking about putting tampons in the boys' room in school. And so that was, why would you put tampons in the boys' room at school? She said that having those tampons in there could help kids learn to read better. Don't look at your radio that way. I didn't make that up. That would help them to learn to read better. Well, then just put a poster up, for Pete's sake. By the way, aren't they supposed to be learning to read better in the classroom? All right. But this is this brilliant woman. This is the answer that she get. It'll help them to read better. Now, I don't know about you, and I know some of you are having breakfast. I don't want to get into too much detail here. When I go and use the facilities, if you will, I'm not someone who sits there reading anything. I go in, I take care of business, I get out, okay? But if I were to stay in there for a while, and I was one of those who liked to sit there and read, which I've never understood myself, but okay. I tell you one thing I'm not going to do is read a box of tampons. I'm not. Or even just for that matter, one that came out of a little dispenser there on the wall, something like that. I don't understand how that's supposed to work. This to me is not reading material. But anyway, I'm going to quote her again here. This is what she said. She said, God, it's hard to read this sometimes. Having those tampons in there could help kids learn to read better. See, this is what happens when you have an argument that is just garbage. You know what? You shouldn't be putting tampons in the boys' room. There's no reason to do this. So what kind of argument could those people who want to put them in there come up with? And they've got to come up with something to defend their cause, but they don't have anything. So they throw something like that out there. And I want to remind you, if you think Tim Walz is bad, and he's not a smart guy, how he became governor of anything, I don't know. Definitely not a smart guy. If you want to meet someone who is even less intelligent, I'll just say dumber than him, it would be the woman he married. And that man is governor of a state, and his wife is first lady of that state. And I wonder now, I don't know. I just kind of wonder, do the people of that state look at their decision now and think, the hell we done here in electing him? How the hell? Really? Seriously? And I have to look it up because I don't know. Is he a one-term governor or a two-term governor? I don't know. I don't know. I think he might be two-term. I'll have to look it up. I'm guessing there. I'll have to look that up. But those are the kinds of cases, if stuff like this gets out to the people of that state, which I hope it does, it should, you would think, end the political career. Not just what she said, but the kinds of stuff that he says. One thing I do like about election time, when the press is actually doing their job, which is rare, is that people finally get to hear what their politicians really think when it gets close to election time. What I mean by that is they start getting desperate, which is why you hear not just Waltz and his wife, but for that matter, Kamala Harris say, and even Biden, will get into that, saying more and more outrageous things, and it gives you an idea as to who they really are. Yesterday, I heard an audio bit where Kamala Harris was saying, we've got to tone down the rhetoric and start acting more civil. And then went on to lie about things that Donald Trump wanted to do once he got into office and basically called him Hitler again. So that's toning down the rhetoric for you, right? All right, coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way. Update on your weather forecast. Oh, road conditions this morning. I do have a post on road conditions. Very slick out there is all you really need to know most of the state. Tony Kyle and Cheyenne. Implants are not buoyant. Real breasts are. True science. Okay. Apparently, Jim knows the true science. I'm sorry. Don Kyle. Hang on. I'll read your comments as we get out of the news break. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
Friday.
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so to Angie and Casper, she said, you don't have to open this on air, but I will. Just want you to know you're missing the underlying reason for tampons in boys' bathrooms that has to do with the rise of the trans-binary population. And I do know that. But, of course, I still have to ask the question, why would they be in there when you think it's a boys' room? It's not supposed to be in there. And so when Tim Waltz's wife says, it helps them learn to read, that was her excuse, you've got to be kidding me. Kenny and Kremling. I'm going to, Kremling? Kremmling. I'm going to have to look that one up. I don't know where that is. Glenn, if you get married, you will start reading in the bathroom. Now, if I have kids, I know husbands who have kids, and this is where they go to hide out. Milo in Fort Danger, okay. And then, okay. Jenny, Jim, and Casper, 8675309, greatest bathroom wall song of all time. Yes, that really is. Let's see. And then Tony Kyle and Cheyenne. Implants are not buoyant. Real breasts are. True science. I will have to, I trust you on that one. I really do. These are the kind of topics we get into first thing in the morning. Now, in the meantime, and this is what I didn't want to get into, I'll just toss this out there. So in the meantime, here's Joe Biden, who's not on the campaign trail, really, but he's still getting out there and saying things. And I know people in the Democrat movement wish that he wouldn't. All right, so he was talking about Republicans, and he had some horrible things to say, which he's now trying to backtrack on, and his backtracking really doesn't pan out. But I know that the irrelevant, obsolete news media is going to try to go to bat for him. Biden basically called Trump supporters garbage. Yeah, he did. When you look at his words, he was calling Trump supporters garbage. And now he's trying to backtrack and say, no, I was just talking about that one guy who was, at the Trump campaign in Madison Square Garden who talked about Puerto Rico being just, garbage floating in the ocean and so on. I was just talking about him. Well, that's not your words, Joe. I heard your words, and you called Trump supporters garbage. That's what you said. Now he's trying to backtrack on all of this. Now, I'm not going to get into a huge, back and forth thing on it. Oh, wait a second. Here, I think I have the audio of exactly what he said.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable.
Okay, so the only garbage I see out there are his supporters, Trump supporters, in other words. So that's exactly what he said. And now he's trying to say, well, that's not what I said. I was just talking about this one guy. It is interesting to me that when we can do what I just did, play Biden's own words and call him out on it, and that's called disinformation. When Harris says something, Kamala Harris says something outrageous or just stupid, whatever the case may be, when she says something that's even just ridiculous, and I play the audio of what she said, that now is disinformation. And we're supposed to believe the backtracking. We're not supposed to believe what we heard with our own ears or what we saw, for that matter, with our own eyes. So, okay, we now know how this works, right? No, it doesn't matter what they actually said. It doesn't matter what they actually do. Forget all of that. You're supposed to believe whatever they tell you to believe at the moment, and then ignore anything else, or you are engaging in misinformation. We now know how this game is played. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time this morning, although we are getting toward election time. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going through the tit for tat from the political parties here. And I know that actually I think now over half of Wyomingites have already voted anyway. And we already know the way most of you are going to vote. You made up your minds on a lot of things a long time ago. So we don't need to pick all of this apart. It's just the closer we get to Election Day, the worse this gets. And it's not just the worse that the politicians get. It's the worse the news media gets to. And that's why after a while, I've just had enough of listening to it. And can we just get the election over with and move on to something else, please? Morning, Doug. Doug is in Cheyenne. Well, the instructions for tampon use would be quite extensive. I'm not going to sit down and read it, Doug. I'm not going to sit down in the men's room and spend time trying to read the package. And we're talking about, by the way, something that comes out of a wall dispenser. So I can't read what's on the wall. I'm sitting in the stall, presumably. And there's not much writing on the little package. I've seen the little packages there. And no, I didn't spend a lot of time reading it, and I'm not going to. That's what her excuse is? Okay. That's fine. Keep talking, really. Please, keep talking. It just helps us make the case. I don't have to make a case against these people anymore. They're doing it for me. 642, wake up.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
6:48 the time. Wake Up Wyoming off. We go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, I got a tall one for you.
Very tall.
Yes, Gainesville, Florida.
Yes, I've been there, yes.
Yeah, okay, a beautiful town. Really, I worked there for a while, as a matter of fact. Okay, so this is a young man who's on the basketball team there, university basketball, 7 feet 9 inches.
He's 7'9"?
Yes.
And he plays for the University of Florida?
Yes.
Okay.
He owns a spot on the Guinness's record book as world's tallest teenager.
7'9".
Yes.
Can he actually play?
Well, that's what I'd like to know. I mean, it's one thing to
are
be
you
tall
coordinated?
like that. Yes,
I mean, can you?
Yes.
Obviously, you can dunk, but.
I mean, I'm 6'1" and I have trouble with coordination.
Me too. Trust me. I have.
7'9". I know how we're supposed to manage that, but okay. And then we have seen, who is that basketball player? This is a long time ago. Short guy.
Oh, Muggsy Bogues.
He outran everybody.
He's 5'4", 6'3",
Yeah.
4, something like that. Yeah, he was great.
He proved you didn't need to be tall to be. In fact, I think he was. He might have been short, but he could outmaneuver everybody.
Oh, yeah, he was, for his size,
Yeah.
and he had incredible jumping ability. It's just amazing.
But at 7'9", this kid goes up to dunk a basketball.
He doesn't even have to leave the floor.
And so as he dunks the ball, you're probably sitting there thinking, so what?
We'll have to see if this guy's got some ability.
Yeah, okay.
Just because you have height doesn't mean you have ability.
That's exactly right, yeah. So, I mean, I'm more impressed with someone when I see someone do a dunk shot when they're really low to the ground and they can still get way up there. And here's the big part, the hang time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really fun to watch there. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Also, what is it? This is like I think about this in golf. You know, what's your long game? What's your short game? Mm-hmm. And the same thing, I guess, could be said for basketball.
What's your tall game?
Yeah, you got to get the ball down at the other end of the court. There's your long game. Mm-hmm. And then once you get it down to the other end, can you get it inside the basket? There's your short game there. So, okay, we'll keep an eye on him, Frank.
All right.
7'9". He has to duck to every room he goes into.
Oh, for the rest of his life, yeah. All right, the Wyoming Cowboy football team back at it on Saturday in Albuquerque to meet New Mexico. The Pokes are 1-7, so the wheels have completely come off after a 2-point home loss to lowly Utah State last week. UW will get running back Harrison Whaley back in the lineup this week. He's been out with a knee injury and was the team's leading rusher from a year ago. Receiver TK King will be out with a concussion. He was drilled by a Utah State defender in the head. The guy used his shoulder pad, which is why he wasn't flagged for targeting, although that rule needs to be rewritten. King got a concussion out of that deal on a direct hit to his head. Tell me. Receiver Alex Brown broke his leg in the game, so he's out for the year. The Cowboys are 7.5-point underdogs in Saturday's game, which will start at 2 p.m. on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. Some former Wyoming Cowboys had sharp performances over the weekend in the National Football League. Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen, 24 of 34 for 289 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Bills beat Seattle 31-10. Cincinnati middle linebacker and Casper native Logan Wilson, 7 tackles, and the Bengals 31-17 loss to Philadelphia. And Laramie native Frank Crum was in there on the Denver Broncos offensive line for a snap in their 28-14 win over Carolina and 2 snaps on special teams. In high school volleyball, regional tournaments will start statewide Friday and Saturday. In 4A, the East Regional will be at Cheyenne South, and on Friday, Laramie will get a first-round bye. Cheyenne East will play Cheyenne Central at noon on Friday, and South will take on Thunder Basin at 3. The 4A West Regional is in Evanston. Kelly Walsh draws Riverton in the first round on Friday, and the Toronto will take on Star Valley. Top 4 teams from the East and the West qualify for the state high school volleyball tournament that will be next week in Casper. In junior college volleyball, Casper College is 8-22 on the year following a loss to Western Wyoming and a win over Gillette College last week. T-Birds will be at LCCC on Friday in Cheyenne, and L-Trip is 10-18 on the year with losses last week to Central Wyoming and Northwest DePaul. In baseball, the New York Yankees finally won a game in the World Series. They crushed the Los Angeles Dodgers yesterday 11-4, but the Dodgers lead the Fall Classic 3-1 with Game 5 tonight in New York. That's it in sports.
So does that mean it's over tonight?
Well, this is amazing what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
A guy from the Dodgers, Mookie Betts, is near the wall to try to catch a fly ball for an out. And 2 Yankees fans not only grabbed his glove and grabbed the ball out of his glove, and they were talking about it at the bar like, we're heroes.
Yeah,
typical
heroes.
Arrogant New York Yankee fans.
I'm still stuck on the fact that we have yet another guy in baseball named Mookie.
Yeah, but
this is not the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not about Mookie.
No, I know
it's about the 2 idiots that are sitting in the front row.
And I agree with you. I just got stuck on Mookie, just so you know. But no, you're absolutely right.
And they threw him out of the game, and then they think they're in their season ticket holders, and they think they're going to get in tonight.
No,
if the Yankees let
chance.
them in, they should just, really just close the doors.
In other news, who the hell names your kid Mookie? Stop that. Don't do that to
and
a
that's
poor
his
kid.
nickname, maybe.
Oh, I see. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business, we have to take care of a news time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. 7:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Wednesday, and over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by banana scented nose hair clippers.
Yum.
Clipping your nose hair never smelled so good.
I would probably clip my nose hairs more often if I could score one of those.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. We got a lot of weird things going on this morning, which is fine by me. It's Halloween Eve. A lot of snow came down. Some more is still coming down, and I'm waiting to hear what's happening with those big fires that we had up in, Togety Pass and up above Sheridan in the Bighorn Mountains. I'll let you know as soon as I know. Roads are slick out there for a good part of Wyoming. Just so you know, we'll keep you up to date. So, now, I don't advertise this, but a lot of people are giving me, I even got a couple of birthday cards from people. Today's my birthday. I thank you very much for all the well wishes. I appreciate that. I never really advertised it. It's just people started, I think it's because social media lets people know. And because of that, I start getting all sorts of stuff, which is very nice of you. I appreciate it. Now, I do have real news stories, but here's what I'll admit it. I started first hour. You guys are just egging me on, but okay. For those who missed the first hour, first off, don't laugh. You're a horrible person if you laugh. Over in Europe, a yacht sails out into the waters with a bunch of social media influencers. These are young people who try to make a living off of being TikTok stars and things like this. And most of them are Kim Kardashian wannabes. That's what they're dressed up like. And the captain of the vessel told them, get your life preservers on. We're out in the water here. Get your life preservers on. And they didn't want to because, they're trying to take selfies and do videos. You can't have a life preserver on. Plus, they don't want to get a tan line. The boat runs into problems, sinks, and from what I'm reading in the story, 3 of them died. And so I start getting comments from like DJ up in Gillette about breast implants not inflating. And other people telling me that breast implants actually don't float. I mean, we get into a whole discussion here. Greg from Cheyenne and Larry from Casper both wishing me happy birthday. I appreciate that. Thank you, folks. And then the other one, which was the wife of Tim Walz, who's running for vice president of the United States, she was being questioned about putting tampons in the boys' room at high schools. And her reasoning behind it is it helps them learn to read. I'll let you figure that out. But I'm getting into all sorts of deep conversations about that right now. Tybone in Buford says, hey, Glenn, the little neighborhood in Cheyenne on the northwest corner of Delrange and Powder House had the best Halloween decorations. It is like a competition this year with crickets. What the hell? Well, now here's the thing. I went around Casper, Wyoming, and did with a friend of mine daytime pictures of Halloween decorations and nighttime photos of Halloween decorations, which have posted. Then I went to Casper to try to find Halloween decorations, and almost no house in, Cheyenne. Almost no house in Cheyenne has decorations. I found a couple. Most didn't. Cheyenne doesn't really seem to be into decorating for Halloween this time around. I know I'm going through a lot right now, people. I'm just trying to do a little bit of house cleaning here. Let's see. In the boys' restroom, they should put instructions on how not to pee on the floor, says Milo in Fort Danger, in which case I say, they should put instructions on how not to pee on the floor, so the boys will understand how not to do that. Now, on another note, on a birthday note here, and this is funny, Miss Mary wanted to make a present for me. And so she has, and I have this in my hand right now. She printed this out, and I'm going to keep these. These are good. But she had a fight with the printer at work. She was getting frustrated going downstairs, and we almost lost a printer, big copier printer down there. It was almost beaten to death by Miss Mary as she was just trying to get this to print out. So what I'm holding in my hand here is cardstock paper, and there are 3 coupons that she printed out. U.S. government bureaucracy coupon. Yeah, I now have 3 U.S. government bureaucracy coupons, compliments of Miss Mary. Now, you wonder, what is that? Well, it explains what that means underneath, but it's in fine print. So fine is the fine print that I actually couldn't read it. I would have to have a magnifying glass to read the fine print. So Miss Mary sent me the fine print in a way that I could read it. By sending, we message each other back and forth on a little program here. So she went ahead and enlarged it for me. I don't have a magnifying glass in the studio. So government bureaucracy coupon. Fine print reads, coupon redeemable for release from one act of bureaucratic nonsense, not included but not limited to unnecessary paperwork, time-consuming meeting, license renewal, light corruption, wasted funding, and long lines. Terms subject to change. Of course they are. This offer not valid on previous inconveniences. Coupon has no cash value. Coupon valid through October 30th, 2026, or the fall of the American Empire. Oh, that's good.
Dedicated, reliable-ish, hardworking from 10 to 3 Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They are the American bureaucrat, because the engine that was America's progress and success was running a little too fast and efficient. Who knows where all of this innovation and success was going? So for the good of the nation, somebody needed to slow it down. It took a lot of paper to jam up those gears of progress, but no one knows paper like the bureaucrat. And America was too rich compared to the rest of the world. Can't have that. No one knows how to make your money disappear like the proud men and women of the American bureaucracy. So, America, take all your great ideas and big dreams and flush them. And if you find your dreams coming true, don't worry. The American bureaucracy has a ton of paperwork and a line for you to stand in. Bureaucracy, slowing progress and freedom for a more humble America.
I'm not done with that yet because, Miss Mary, I like this gift, so I'm going to have some more fun with it. I do have some real news to go through with you guys, but, I mean, do you really want to hear that right now? Probably not.
Who was the first man to walk on the moon?
Ooh, I know this question. I know it.
Easy. I know it. Elon Musk. No, it was Kanye.
Okay, the girl that is saying Kanye has to be just trying to be silly, right? That I understand. But the other one?
Elon Musk?
It was Kanye. It was Kanye. Elon literally made Tesla. He's been on the moon. He made space.
I'm literally just like, they have to be joking. Like, even if they weren't joking, Elon Musk hasn't been to the moon, baby. And Kanye West, maybe in his brain, maybe in his Delulu brain. He's never been either, sweetie. Answering these types of questions, I think these two really need to use the information they have at their fingertips, as they say to us.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I do have a couple of guests later on this morning, and I swear I'll get to some real news or something at some point. Just feel like screwing around today, so what the hell. I'm going to read this one more time because I really like this. This is Miss Mary's giving me a birthday present. She has printed out for me on cardstock paper, by the way, 3 U.S. government bureaucracy coupons. And there's a bunch of fine print under it, which I could not read, even with a big magnifying glass. It's hard to read the fine print. But she enlarged it for me. Here's what it says. This government bureaucracy coupon redeemable for release from one which is not going to be anywhere near enough, act of bureaucratic nonsense, including but not limited to unnecessary paperwork, time-consuming meeting, license renewal, like corruption, I love that one, wasted funding, long lines, terms subject to change. Of course, government can change the terms anytime they want. They don't care. This offer is not valid on previous inconveniences. Coupon has no cash value. Coupon valid through October 30th, 2026, or the fall of the American Empire. With that, imagine, now this is written, I helped him produce it, and we even did a video for this. The Dan, who you do hear on Voices and some of the comedy bits that we play here, he lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And he came up with an idea. Imagine if bureaucrats had conventions, and they do. Yes, government bureaucrats go on conventions, on the taxpayer's dime, by the way. And they go to some really expensive places to have a convention. But imagine the hassle signing up for a government bureaucratic convention. There would be a lot of bureaucracy to sign up for it, right? That was his idea. Here's the bit that he wrote and I helped him produce.
The following is a paid advertisement for the hardworking-ish bureaucrats of America.
Are you a bureaucrat? We would like to invite you to register for the Hometown International Bureaucratic Information and Justification Institute for the Bureau of Internal Symposium, or HEBGBs for short. HEBGBs invites you to this one or 3-day symposium, depending if our 3-day internal certification is renewed. We will have an exciting lineup planned. Health and Human Services Director Kathleen Sebelius, former IRS Manager Lois Lerner, and former head of the EPA Lisa Jackson. Registration is easy-ish. Just go to Hometown International Bureaucratic Information and Justification Institute for the Bureau of Internal Symposiums .com and click register now. No, not now, but when you get there, click the word now, but not yet. You'll be directed to a site requesting you to fill out a small 12-page application.
This application gives you the HEBGB's information and authorizes you to print off a short 37-page registration form. After the registration form is complete, please go back to the HEBGB's website and follow the same steps 2 more times. Since registration in triplicate is required and copies will not be accepted, please fill out 1 with a number 2 pen, 2 with a ballpoint pen, and 3 with a crayon. Snail mail your application and registration along with your non-refundable check and money order, each made out for $250 to HEBGB. Credit cards are accepted, but please allow for additional 10 to 12 weeks for processing.
You will then be promptly notified within 8 to 10 months if your non-refundable registration has been accepted. Don't delay. Get the HEBGBs today.
Now, on that note, what this reminds me of when I play this, which, by the way, very well written by Dan, and he, when he voiced it, he did a great job. Then we shot a video for this, and we shot it in reverse order because he showed up looking disheveled, which is the way he's supposed to look at the end of the video. As this guy sits down in a suit and tie and starts to try to fill out all the paperwork and get online, which I like that we added in there old dial-up sound, even though we're not in the dial-up age anymore. But the longer this guy tries to fill out the forms to go to this bureaucratic convention, the longer it takes him, the more disheveled he looks. Pretty soon he's just a wreck. But in order to get that, we had to shoot it in reverse order. So he showed up looking disheveled, and as we shot it, he kept going to clean up. He eventually had a clean shirt on. He shaved. He combed his hair. He looked good by the end of it. Now, so a lot of times things are shot in reverse order like that for just time's sake. I mean, to have him grow a 3-day beard, we would be shooting him for 3 days. So we start with the 3-day beard and end up with clean shaving. You see how that works? Well, all right. But what this reminds me of is just recently, for aviation purposes, I had to go take a written exam. Now, the written exam is done online. It's not written. There's no writing. But they call it the written exam. It's a multiple choice. I have to go to a testing center, an approved testing center. So I go to get online to set up the test. And I spend a couple of hours trying to figure out the government website just to get myself registered for the test. It was really frustrating. Until eventually I went to a local flight school that is an official testing center and had the lady behind the counter help me out. And then when I went back to take the test, which would be a few days later, I was not on the schedule to test. In fact, I'd even called that morning. I just want to make sure I'm going to show up and take the test this afternoon. And she said, oh, yeah, all registered. You're ready to go. And when I showed up, they had no idea who I was. Even though I just called and asked, am I clear for this test because I set this up like a week ago? Oh, yes, come on in. I get there. They have no idea. So we have to go through all of that again. Next time I show up, I'm actually there. All right. But still, now I have to log in. And I haven't even taken the test yet. That takes a while. So finally, when it's all done, and I take the test, at the end of the test, they have a questionnaire. First off, how were the people at the testing facility? I gave them high marks because they were really helpful. Was the testing facility clean? Was it quiet? Yes, it was. They gave me everything I needed. They were very good. But then they made the mistake of asking, and this is the FAA, of asking the question, and how was your experience with registering to take the test? And they made the mistake of not just giving me, like good, bad, whatever. They left a box open where I can go ahead and write something. And man, did I let them have it on, wow, what a mess your website is. But it kind of makes sense that it is a mess because it is a government website. And it took me 2 hours at home and 2 hours at the flight facility to register for this test. And even then, we had to go back and spend another 2 hours. So that's a total of 6 hours just trying to get me all registered so I can go take this thing. That's how bad your website is, just so you know. Now, I sent that off. But I really doubt that I'm going to get any kind of response from them or anybody's going to work to fix anything. If that were a private company, they would be really worried about losing customers, and they would rush to fix because, if you lose customers, you're not making money, you go out of business. Government bureaucracy doesn't care. You're going to be a customer whether you like it or not. That's how government bureaucracy works. So they don't care if it's a hassle even just to try to do business with them. They'll make it more of a hassle if you keep complaining. All right, coming up on some local news that we got to take care of, we're going to roll into a weather forecast after that. Don Day's Don Day's on with me live with an extended forecast. And we'll talk about road conditions and so on with it. That's at 7:45 coming your way. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. First up, just talking with Miss Mary, and I know you're not going to believe me, but I did something smart. Quit looking at your radio that way. I did too. It happens now and then. It was an accident. Now, so all of the snow that piled up in my car this morning, it was a lot. I mean, my car was outside, and wow, did I have a lot of snow on it. And so I went and grabbed, I don't know, how long did it take me to figure this out? I went and grabbed a push broom. Rather than sweeping away with my, that little handheld thing you got for you're wisping a little bit of snow away from your windshield. Not that, no. I grabbed a push broom. And I just pushed all the snow in big sweeps off my vehicle, which took me very little time. I had my whole car done in probably 1 minute tops. That works. And then I noticed that, and Miss Murray confessed to me, at least I didn't have a snow hat on my car. This is the snow hat season. And the snow hat is when you see someone driving to work in the morning and they've wiped off all of the snow around their windows and even maybe off the hood of their car. But the top of the car, which is hard to reach for some people, has a big pile of snow on it. That's a snow hat. Which is funny to watch when they get to that first traffic light or stop sign and they hit the brakes and it all goes sliding down off the front onto their windshield. That's just hysterical to watch. Not to say that I haven't made that mistake myself, but that's what made me think about snow hats this morning. You'll see a lot of them around Wyoming. By the way, the roads out there are on the slick side. I do have a story up about that. I've been watching YDOT this morning. And when you take a look around the state of Wyoming, there's only one. I'm calling them up right now to double check to see. Yeah, there's a couple of places that are closed. Okay, if you're down in southeastern Wyoming, most of Happy Jack is closed. And, of course, between Laramie and, let's see, Wamsutter, between that area, on I-80, it's not closed, but they have that in the red as an extreme caution watch out. Also, let me see, if you want to go between, let's see, I'm trying to figure out where exactly this junction in here. I do believe that this is Muddy Gap. Okay, so from Muddy Gap over to Lander and around Atlantic City, those highways like 28 and 287, those are closed. But now most of the rest of the state is just under yellow or orange for extreme caution. That's just where we at right now. And what's nice about it, though, is we're not dealing with a lot of wind. That's not going to be a problem here today. We're not going to have blowing snow. Here's what is a problem, though. As we warm up today, that's going to melt. And then tonight that freezes again. So for the next few days, we're going to have to deal with some black ice out there. And that covers most of the state. Not complaining, though. Especially because those areas where we had some big fires going, like up in the Bighorns and over at Toketee Pass, just got pummeled by snow for a very long period of time. So I'm waiting for word. I would expect to hear that those fires are just done by now. I can't believe that the fires would have survived during that time. I don't know. I'm waiting to hear, once they get up there and take a look at it, what's left of those fires should be done. They should have finished them off. We'll find out. As soon as I know, I'll let you know. But, yeah, that's going to be the big thing over the next couple of days. And Don Day's coming up at 7:45 to talk about the weather forecast. Because while we have the Halloween forecast looks good, just cold. But it looks nice. The weekend looks nice. We get into next week. They've got some big question marks about, are we getting more snow? How much are we getting if we get any snow? Although they're pretty confident on the wind forecast on this. So it's nice to see we finally get into the season here where we start getting this kind of wet. And it's, as always, going to be back and forth between, wow, what a nice sunny day. Oh, my Lord, is that snow ever going to stop? We're going to go back and forth like this for a while. But when I get Don on here in just a moment or so, I'll ask him about this because next week there's a lot of question marks in your weather forecast. And not only are the models not really spitting out anything that the meteorologists are confident about, but meteorologists themselves are not confident, which I always like to point that out. Think about that for a minute. Your meteorologists are looking at forecasts, let's say 4 and 5 days out, and they're having trouble deciphering what they think is going to happen just because of the way things are coming together. But there are members of the cult of climate change who will swear they can figure the weather 50 years out, 100 years out. They got this all figured out. Even though your local meteorologist, even national meteorologists, cannot figure out a forecast for 5 days out. Forget your 10-day forecast. If you ever look at a 10-day forecast, that's an estimate of a probability, and that's going to change a lot by the time you get to that 10th day. But we can tell you what the weather's going to be 50 or 100 years from now, no problem. 742, wake up.
If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. Okay, don't know about everybody, Don. I know it was not evenly spread, but man, was I pushing a lot of snow off my car this morning.
Well, yeah, that axis of deep moisture really did line up through the southwest corner, through the central counties where you're at, then up into the northeast. Was taking a look at some precipitation totals, and we can talk about snow totals, but it was really a combination of rain and snow. And we've got a lot of areas. The Casper Airport, just under an inch of water. That was a record for the date. Right south of Gillette, 13 inches of snow.
Wow.
up there, and Gillette got over an inch of water, and with that snow, and then we had some very heavy snow down into parts of that central and southwest areas of the state. Lots of road closures this morning. But boy, that was what the doctor ordered in terms of bringing a really wet storm. Now, the southeast corner, Laramie and Cheyenne barely got anything.
Okay.
And then in the far northwest corner was about the same. So it was right in that middle line.
And speaking of a lot of wet there, what I was pushing off my car this morning was heavy. There was not a light snow.
That lot of water content. And you'll see that the storms at the beginning of the season in the fall, and then at the end where you go to winter to spring, that's your highest water content snows. Okay. So that was a huge the amount of moisture that fell with that system, especially for the central and northeast, that it has really saw the drought really expand. That was great news.
Okay, now as far as we're taking a look at who got what, at least with all the snow that piled up. And yes, there's a lot of roads that are under stress conditions this morning. At least we don't have a lot of wind with this, but here's my worry. We warm up a bit, it melts down some, that's nice, but then it freezes again overnight, and that goes on for several days.
Yeah, and that's the time of year we're at now where that's going to be a concern for travelers. And we're going to still see a little bit of light snow activity over the central and southern counties of the state today. In fact, I'm watching radar showing it begin to start to pick up again. No one's going to get a lot of additional, but we are still going to be fighting some slick roads and highways through tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll have a little bit of wind, but since it is a wet snow, I don't think the drifting will be too bad except over the mountain passes. Good news for Halloween. It'll be chilly, but other than some snow around Jackson Hole, I don't see any precipitation anywhere else for Halloween. But the door is open now to the Pacific, Glenn, so we're going to see more of these systems coming on through.
Now, speaking of that, the weekend looks pretty nice here, except, on the cold side. Yeah.
Yeah, I am not going to go with a good weekend yet.
Okay.
Let's wait a day on that. And the reason I say that is that we've got these little systems coming off the Pacific that could spoil a weekend forecast real quick.
Yeah, and even next week's forecast, I've noticed you and other meteorologists are kind of hedging on that.
Oh, totally hedging. Yeah, okay. Because there's a lot of disagreement. But the message here is that there's systems coming through, so we're going to have some weather.
Yeah.
The trick is whether or not it's going to be impactful weather or not.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don Day with day weather. And yeah, do watch out for that because this stuff is going to melt. And then it's going to come back, and freeze overnight, which is going to be black ice when you're driving out there. Then it's going to melt again. Off we go to the ice box. Frank Gambino waiting by. All right, Miss Mary sent me a video, and it was absolutely horrible, of last night's baseball game. And there's Mookie.
This is not about Mookie.
No, it's not. No, I'm looking at I don't even know if I want to call this guy a fan. I'm going to call him a jerk.
It's the two guys.
The two guys, yeah. Basically grabbing his glove and the ball, and he's fighting them on this.
Yeah. And then they're season ticket holders, and they found these guys, whoever did the interview, found them in a bar and go, oh, this is my wall and my patrol this, and I'm going to get in for Game 5 of the World Series. They were ejected. You two clowns need to be thrown in the East River.
Yeah, really. And then not allowed to buy season tickets for next year.
Yeah, to say, you know what, you're done. If the Yankees let them in tonight, really, they're already famous for the wrong reasons, but you know what? They didn't care.
Okay, wait. Okay, here's what I would do. Let them in, right? But you know how they have like the kiss cam, stuff like that? Okay, zoom in on them and have the idiot cam. Have the jerk cam and keep showing what they did in slow motion.
I don't think the home team would do that.
No,
if it was in Los Angeles,
sure,
they'd be all over these guys.
Yes, I would definitely do. I have never seen such bad behavior before.
It's really so typical for New York Yankee fans.
Really? Okay. Yeah. They think that this is funny and okay?
Yeah. That's the way they are.
Okay.
And that's why everyone wants the Yankees to lose, among other reasons.
Yes, okay. So, I'm watching this thinking, it's one thing, I would have gotten out of the way. It's one thing if the ball had already gone over his glove and it was too late, but to literally rip it out of his hands like that, okay. I would ban these guys maybe for a couple of years.
Yeah, at least. All right, the Wyoming Cowboy football team back at it on Saturday in Albuquerque to meet New Mexico at 1-7. The wheels have completely come off for the Pokes after a 2-point home loss to lowly Utah State last week. UW will get running back Harrison Whaley back in the lineup. He has been out with a knee injury. He's the team's leading rusher from a year ago. Receiver T.K. King will be out with a concussion as he was drilled by a Utah State defender right in the head. And the guy used his shoulder pad to do that, which is why he wasn't flagged for targeting, although that rule needs to be rewritten for exactly what happened to him. He got a concussion out of the deal on a direct hit to his head, and it wasn't from the crown of a helmet. It was from a shoulder pad. It still did the same damage. Receiver Alex Brown broke his leg in that game on Saturday, so he's out for the year. Cowboys are 7.5-point underdogs in Saturday's game. That'll start at 2 o'clock on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. Some former Wyoming Cowboys with sharp performances over the weekend in the National Football League. Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen was 24 of 34 for 289 yards and 2 touchdown passes as the Bills beat Seattle 31-10. Cincinnati middle linebacker and Casper native Logan Wilson had 7 tackles in the Bengals' 31-17 loss to Philadelphia. Laramie native Frank Crum was in there for the Denver Broncos on the offensive line for a snap in their 28-14 win over Carolina and 2 snaps on special teams. High school volleyball regional tournaments will be statewide Friday and Saturday. In 4A, the East Region will be at Cheyenne South. On Friday, Laramie will get a first round bye, and then East will play Central at noon on Friday in the first round. South will take on Thunder Basin at 3. The 4A West region will be in Evanston. Kelly Walsh draws Riverton in the first round on Friday, and the Trona meets Star Valley. Top 4 teams from the East in 4A, and the 4 from the West will meet at the State High School Volleyball Tournament that will be next week in Casper. Junior college volleyball, Casper College 8-22 on the year following a loss to Western Wyoming and a win over Gillette College last week. T-Bridge will beat LCCC on Friday in Cheyenne. L-Trip is 10-18 on the year with losses last week to Central Wyoming and Northwest DePaul. And in baseball, the New York Yankees beat the Los Angeles Dodgers last night 11-4, but the Dodgers still lead the World Series 3-1 with Game 5 tonight in New York. That's it in sports.
Okay, so we're going to see all the games here, or is it going to be done
I think it's going to go to 6 games, actually.
Okay.
So the Yankees they did what they had to do yesterday, despite their idiotic fans.
Yeah.
And then the Dodgers didn't pitch very well at all.
Okay.
But you know what? People have been lively in both locales, both in L.A. and New York. I mean, there's a lot of interest in this thing. And some, with the exception of yesterday, the baseball really has been compelling. Okay. Except for the 2 idiots along the wall there.
So where's the next game played?
It's in New York tonight.
It's in New York tonight. Okay. So everybody knows where Frank is going to be.
I'm going to be watching the game.
Yes, that's right. Not a problem. All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. Oh, and then I have a guest, Katie Morgan, for just a couple of minutes as we get into the 8 o'clock hour. She's with Wreaths Across America. We've talked about this every year at this time, and they need some help from you guys. It has to do with, graves for the fallen, and she'll explain everything for you. So that's in the beginning of the hour. Then we get into open phones in the 8 o'clock hour. And I'll try to get some real news in here, maybe a story or two. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Friday.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Banana Scented Nose Hair Clippers. Clipping your nose hair never smelled so good.
And I didn't even clip my nose hairs until I got a pair of those. And now, finally, I don't look like I'm walking around with a bunch of curb feelers. So, okay, Katie Morgan is in Laramie. She's with Wreaths Across America. Good to talk to you again, Katie. We've already reached that time again, huh?
Yes, we have. And we had snow in Laramie yesterday to kick it off.
Oh, really? How much did you get? Because my car was, piled under probably over a foot.
We just had a scattering here, not much.
Well, okay, we'll do better next time getting you some snow. All right, Wreaths Across America. For those who don't know, this is an event that happens not now, but a little bit later. I think you're getting ready for it, right?
Yeah, we're just kicking off our fundraising to buy wreaths to put on the Veterans Grave at the Laramie Cemetery. This is part of a nationwide effort that goes on at cemeteries all over the United States and across the world. Last year, they laid over 2 million wreaths.
Wow, that is a lot. Now, it's just for those people who are listening, she's in Laramie, just so you know. Whatever community you're in Wyoming, they probably have a program like this going. So it's worth looking it up. There's a national website for this, isn't there?
Yeah, you can go to Wreaths Across America, and you can look up your community and see who's raising money to put wreaths and what they're doing. What we're doing here in Laramie to kick it off is we're working with the local VFW to have a fundraising breakfast coming up this Sunday, November 3rd, from 8 to 11 at the VFW post. And all the proceeds from breakfast, they're $10 a person, will go to buy wreaths. We'll also have a small silent auction, but this is kind of the event that kicks it off for us.
Okay, this is the important part. What's on the menu?
We have biscuits and gravies and hash browns or pancakes, sausage, and scrambled eggs. So you have a few choices.
Yeah, okay. So if people want to go to this, first off, just talk about the breakfast. They need to be where, when?
At the Laramie VFW post at the corner of 22nd and Garfield. And it's between 8 a.m. to 11. They just buy their tickets at the door, pay for breakfast at the door.
Okay. Now, for those people who would like to help out, but they're not going to be able to attend the breakfast, what can they do?
We have information on our Facebook page, the Jock Laramie NSDAR Facebook page. Has a QR code that leads you directly to Wreaths Across America. You can go to the Wreaths Across America website. There'll be other events going on in Laramie and around the state. The deadline for ordering wreaths is November 29th, so you'll probably see some things over the next 4 weeks on how you can support it.
Yeah, okay. So go ahead and visit the website. And, again, it's a national website, but I guess when they go to the national website, they just type in their location, right?
Yeah, there's a search engine where you can look up your local community and your local cemetery. And after we raise all the money, it culminates in National Wreaths Across America Day on December 14th, where we'll be heading out to all our local cemeteries to place the wreath.
Which, of course, you'll need some help doing that.
Oh, yeah. We always ask for volunteers from the community here in Laramie, and I know they do elsewhere in the state. Bring the family out. It's quite an event. Last year, we placed about 1,000 wreaths here in Laramie alone.
Wow, okay. So get online, go to Reach Across America, type in your local community, help out there if you're in Laramie as well. Enjoy that breakfast. Okay, Katie, as we get closer, will you call us back and remind us to keep going?
Yes, I will. I'll give you a call back right before ordering deadline. Remind folks of that, and maybe before December 14th. Remind folks to put a coat on and come out and help lay wreaths.
All right. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Katie down there in Laramie. But again, whatever community you're in, and you don't even have to be in Wyoming where I'm at, whatever community you're in, type in Reach Across America and then put in your community, and you can see what you can do to help out there. Okay. We are into the 8 o'clock hour. That means open phones. The scariest time, Halloween pun intended.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97, what's the phone number? That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject, fine by me. I'm going to get into something just for the fun of it about electric vehicles for just a moment here, because I got something new from the Ford Motor Company.
Hey, everybody, it's Craig
Crazy Larry, did you make the mistake of getting one of them electrified vehicles? Oh, I know if you live in California like me, they've been mandated. But how are you going to keep them charged when there ain't enough power to go around? Oh, but don't worry. Crazy Larry's got some crazy ideas for you. Come on by my accessory shop for electric vehicles. Wouldn't you like to buy a diesel generator to charge your electric car? Oh, I'm sorry, you're trying to keep it green. Oh, well, here's a battery charger that will charge your electric vehicle. Now, if that runs out of power, don't you worry none, because we got a diesel backup generator for that sucker. But why should you pay for all of this? Why, you can get a hold of my electrical wiring system what help you hook up your car to your neighbor's car so you can drain their battery overnight to charge what you got. Or why not just take it from the people who put you in this situation in the first place? Yeah, here's a charging system that'll help you hook up to electrified city bus, drain the bus, charge your car, charge your vehicle off for City Hall, charge your vehicle off for the governor's mansion. Whatever you do, just don't pay for it yourself. Now, this is California, after all, where nobody pays for anything themselves. So come on down and get your EV accessories from Crazy Larry's EV Accessory Shop. Leave your moral compass at the door. If I remember this right, in Thermopolis, Wyoming, they caught somebody who had parked their car near City Hall, and they were plugged into City Hall to charge their vehicle. It was a hysterical story. That was a little while ago. I'm trying to remember the details. Okay, so first story. This is really good. Let's go to Ford Motor Company. Ford continues, and there's three stories that relate to each other. Ford continues posting huge losses on its electric lines while automakers reverse course on EVs. Now, this was supposed to be taken over the country by storm, but remember what I've said. You cannot create an artificial economy. It doesn't work that way. Government pumping a bunch of money, like wind and solar electric cars, stuff like that, doesn't work. It never has. If you want to destroy any segment of the economy, have government take it over and run it, like healthcare. And the story says Biden-Harris administration received more bad news this week regarding its goal of getting most drivers in the U.S. to switch to electric vehicles. Ford Motor Company on Monday posted a loss of $1.224 billion on its electric vehicle lines. That brings, if you're keeping a total here, the company's losses on EVs for the first 9 months of this year to $3.7 billion. And they've been at this for several years. By the way, they get subsidies for this, too. So even with the federal government subsidies, they're losing money. And that's $3.7 this year. And they've been at this for several years. Unlike other major automakers, the source said, Ford separates the finances on its EV business into separate categories. The Model E. Energy Watchdogs points out that in his Substack that the company's losses on Model E this year are equivalent to gross profits on its internal combustion engine, Ford Blue. In 2023, for example, Ford lost $4.7 billion on EV sales. And in 2022, it lost $2.2 billion. Wow. See, so 4, 5, 6, 7. We're talking, I'm rounding off the numbers, over $10 billion lost, despite all the subsidies. The third quarter numbers, this is a quote, simply show yet again that Ford's leadership has made a colossal blunder. Okay, and he estimates the company lost over $58,000 on each electric vehicle sold in the third quarter. Company executives sometimes make bad decisions, such as when Hertz decided that it would transition a large chunk of its rental fleet over to electric, and nobody wanted to rent them. With automakers going electric, however, it's just not just a single company. Across the board, many automakers envision consumers would go rushing after electric vehicles. It hasn't happened. There are a few out there who tried it, but over half of EV customers said they would not buy another one. All right, now, Another factor driving the automakers' EV craze, they suspect, is the promise from state governments and federal governments that they will continue to get all sorts of subsidies, but that's not going to last forever. Now, hang on, because I'm not done yet. Many automakers around the world will be retreating and are retreating from electric vehicles. Some companies wanted to do nothing but electric vehicles, but they've already retreated from that. But hang on. We got more because this gets worse. 817, Wake Up Wyoming.
News and weather together at the top and bottom of every hour. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
822 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so 888-97 Woods is the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject. Fine by me. Also, a whole bunch of people texted me off the Wake Up Wyoming app, which I answer both on the air and text back. Just use the chat option on the Wake Up Wyoming app, which is free to download at your app store. Okay, so I just got done picking on Ford. Ford, year after year, records billions in losses on electric vehicles. And other companies around the world are backing off and, in some cases, even giving up altogether. Before I get to that, though, headline, Ford's CEO drives a Chinese electric vehicle. Really? Ford is losing billions of dollars on electric vehicles, and its CEO, Jim Farley, isn't afraid to admit that their vehicles are not the most efficient. In fact, I might even have some audio from this. This is during an interview here.
20 times bigger. So you're exactly what you said. It's like everyone's talking about the Apple car, but the Xiaomi car,
which now exists and is on the road.
Which now exists.
Tens of thousands.
And it's fantastic. They sell 10,000, 20,000 a month. They're sold out for 6 months.
Wow.
You know, that is an industry juggernaut.
Okay. Now, you might be, and there's the Ford CEO just admitting right there that he drives one of those Chinese cars. Now, you might think, well, it sounds like they're selling a bunch of cars. Actually, that's not a juggernaut like he said. Here's on X, which is supposed to be Twitter. Do you really think Ford CEO Jim Farley represents his company by driving a Ford each day? No, he drives a Chinese-made, I can't pronounce it, something Speed Ultra 7 company, which plans to be a fierce competitor against Ford. And there's a whole lot of people dropping stuff here. Compared to his crappy lineup, probably not a bad car, some people are saying. Another one says, if it's about learning about the most advanced EVs, he does not need to go far. Tesla is at the top of its game, not Ford. Maybe Americans want to drive Ford cars made in America. The comments go on and on and on like this. So people are not really happy. Now, having said that, here's a headline for you. End of the road for EV sales as they slump around the world. Despite a growing stream of long-term Elon Musk Tesla saw quarterly sales fall. Tesla saw quarterly sales fall from a peak of, and it talks about the number here and the percentage of it here. So anyway, it's by about a third, if I'm giving you a roundabout number. Meanwhile, Chinese manufacturers, world's largest seller of electric vehicles, saw global EV sales basically crash for them as well. So as you heard the guy interviewing the CEO of Ford, oh, those Chinese cars are really great and how much they're selling. Yeah, those sales are way down, by the way. In the first quarter of this year, it sold over 300,000 EVs worldwide, which is dramatically down. And again, most electric car drivers, we're talking worldwide, not in America, and most electric car drivers, over half of them say they'll never buy another one. Similarly, German car maker Volkswagen, their fourth quarter sales for 2023 way down. It comes in as Volkswagen has been forced to close 3 of its factories that make electric vehicles, 3 factories, and slash jobs partly due to much slower than expected sales. Now, I think when I read into that, slower than expected, what I see there is there was a lot of hype going on about what electric vehicle sales were going to be, and most of that hype came from politicians and the news media, leading people to think, wow, there's going to, and I kept hearing it, I think you did too, I kept hearing there's going to be an electric car revolution out there. Well, there hasn't been. Yes, there was some interest because of all the advertising done, because of all the news story done. And even here in Wyoming, where the electric car sales are pretty much anemic, I do on occasion go, oh, look, there's a Tesla or some other electric vehicle. I'll pass one now and then on the road. But worldwide, sales have not been all that great, to the point that some of these companies that I just mentioned here, not just Ford, but some other companies around the globe, they were expecting really some big boom, and they built big factories. They hired all sorts of people. They got production going, and most of the cars are just sitting there. And then again, we have and this I think is the biggest problem. If anybody out there listening to me right now does business, you know it's not just getting that customer through the door. It's impressing them so much with the product and the service that the customer keeps coming back. More than anything, you build up loyal customers, you are set. But if the customer only visits you once and then never comes back, in the long run, you're screwed. So of over half of electric vehicle owners worldwide say, yeah, I'm not buying another one of those. And sales are already anemic as it is. Then what does that do for the entire market? Which is yet another reason why I've said you can have whatever opinion you want about electric vehicles, whether you think they're good or not. This is not just our government here in the United States, but across the globe, in Europe especially, as they continue to try to create an artificial marketplace for something that people don't want. Heavy subsidies don't work. An artificial marketplace doesn't work. And this is yet another example of that, as those people in government and in the news media and a bunch of environmental activists tell you what you want. But it may not be what you want. Now, again, for those people out there who tried electric vehicles, if that's what you want, you can buy whatever you want. Here's all I've ever asked. No subsidies, no tax breaks, because I don't get those when I buy an internal combustion engine. No subsidies, no tax breaks. Okay, it's got to be able to survive in the open market. And please don't lie about it. Don't tell me it's clean, it's green, it's sustainable, it's affordable, it's reliable, because it's none of those things. All right. Got a different topic coming out of the news here. So local news coming your way. After a local news update on the weather forecast, you and I get back into it. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Friday.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So real quick here, Hollywood, who's in Laramie, sends me this note. He's texting me off the Wake Up Wyoming app. He says, I wonder who will replace those influencers who drowned in that ill-fated yacht cruise. Well, guarantee you right now they're fighting for those positions. For those who didn't hear the story, now I started early this morning warning everybody, don't laugh. You're a bad person if you laugh at this. So over in Europe, doesn't really matter where, over in Europe, there's a bunch of social media influencers. And by that, these are young ladies who are trying to be Kim Kardashian, basically. They dress like it, they act like it. And these people are very popular on things like TikTok and so on. And so they don't really do anything with their lives. People like to follow them because, well, they're influencers, you know. And some people actually make a living off of doing that, believe it or not. So there's this fancy yacht that with a bunch of these influencers, young ladies all dressed in bikinis, trying to look hot. The captain of the yacht keeps telling them, put on your life jackets. They won't. They won't do life jackets. Well, first off, they're taking selfies and video. So I can't have the life jacket on. And then they don't want tan lines because, they're all wearing bikinis and so on. Well, the boat runs into trouble, and it sinks. And if I'm reading the story correctly, 3 of these young ladies die because they weren't wearing life jackets, which is actually horrible. I mean, it's really horrible that happens. But you look at this and you think, well, duh. Forget your damn selfie. Put the life jacket on. One of these ladies didn't even know how to swim, and she's not wearing a life jacket. So just duh. And so the question is, wonder who will replace those influencers who drowned. Yeah, right away, everybody's fighting for those positions. Guarantee you. All right. Couple of jobs report that came out. One of them. Now, be careful reading this because it's from AP News. Jobs report on eve of election will be the most distorted in years. Really? I warn about this all the time. We just got some economic numbers. Before I get to the jobs numbers, we just got some economic numbers out that show that this summer, the economy slowed a bit. And remember, I always tell you this, whenever economic numbers come out, they always adjust those. So numbers they came out with in January have been corrected and adjusted several times. In every single case, showing the economy not as good as they originally said. So the economy slowed during the course of this summer. Democrats are not going to want to hear that. But then there's this one. And I wonder how the news media is going to try to spin that. But all right. According to AP News, again, I have to be careful because I'm reading AP News. 4 days before election, government will issue its final snapshot of hiring and unemployment in the United States after a presidential race in which voter perception of the economy has played a central role. Now, I notice how AP puts it, voter perception. So, no, they love doing it. How you see it is not how it really is. Yes, Friday's report will include some of the most distorted monthly employment figures in years, so they're already setting this up, aren't they? With job growth having been held down temporarily in October by hurricanes and workers' strikes. Just so as voters, politicians, and Federal Reserve officials are looking for a clear read on the economy, they instead will get muddied numbers. The reports arise as Republicans, allies of Donald Trump, seeking to cast doubt on the economy's health. Well, the economy has not. I know hurricanes, things like that, have had a problem. We've been through some problems, yes. But you see what they're trying to do. Well, it's just everybody has this idea because of Donald Trump that the economy is not doing. Overall, the economy has not been doing well. You do know that. You're out there living it, so you do understand that. But AP News is running cover already before we even get those numbers. All right, coming up on, let's see, let's open phones right now. So I'm going to head over to Judy because she's been breathlessly waiting by. Hey, Jude.
Hey, good morning. I wanted to thank the county commissioners for getting planning and zoning to allow Rose and I to do our presentation of 15 minutes. And I wanted to thank Peter Nicolason personally for that, as well as Dave North. I know both of them worked hard to make sure that we would get a fair shot at over the solar farm out west of town. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Also, I wanted to thank everybody out in Natrona County who are working hard, and I left my email address on my Facebook page. So if there's anything that you think is really, really important and your say on it, send it to me and Rose so we can incorporate it and make that the most 15 minutes of a powerful PowerPoint I've ever done. So anyway, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you're making some progress on this and some people are working with you. It ought to be an interesting presentation. Will you be able to record it and post it anywhere?
Absolutely. And also I wanted to thank you, Glenn, because without you, we probably wouldn't have gotten it.
Okay. I did something right?
You did something wonderful
Wow.
for posterity, man. This will go down in history, at least in Matona County.
Yeah, all right.
So, anyway, you have a safe birthday, and we love you, and thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you very much, Judy. I appreciate that. So, yeah, nice words from Judy. I do appreciate what Judy's doing to work this problem. So as she sees it, they want to put some solar panels, a big solar farm, out by where she lives. And she has some issues with that. And so she's trying to fight that. And she pushed the idea, and I agree with this. She pushed the idea that, look, the company that wants to put up the solar farm was able to put up a nice big presentation in front of county commissioners and the public. Well, fine. What about those people who would be opposed to it? Would they be allowed to stand up and give a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, doing the same? And good. They're allowing it, which I think that's just fair. That's all I'm asking for is just be fair. We don't always have to agree with each other, but this is where we go to have this discussion. By the way, I have a story here, Judy. It's I think I might have sent it to you. Rural and coastal residents delay block, and they say green energy projects. These are not green energy projects. Wind and solar is not green. But and it starts with environmentalists. They're not environmentalists. Insist that they love the little guys until they get in the way and ask inconvenient questions to try to block. And again, the story says renewable energy. This energy is not renewable. Intended to save the planet from what they think is a human-caused cataclysm. Then the little people learned the environmentalists, or so-called environmentalists, are really working with wind and solar energy companies, financial giants, bureaucrats. It's a big industrial complex with a lot of money coming in from the federal government and even some states. That's where the financing comes from, this taxpayer money, which is why I say it's not free market. And the little guy that doesn't want this in their backyard stands in the way of, well, there's farmers or rural communities, American Indian groups, people like Judy. Oftentimes, actually, they do remain victorious. Believe it or not, they tend to win stuff like this. The story says, energy analyst and journalist Robert Bryce reports that these little guys have rejected or restricted some 735 wind and solar projects since 2015, including 58 solar and 35 wind proposals so far this year, transmission lines, grid-scale batteries, and other such things. Rural America. Now, I know we've had some cases here in Wyoming where the little guy lost, but that's not always the case. A lot of cases, they actually win. So keep doing what you're doing, Judy. It's your backyard. You get to fight for it. Tate is in Casper. Morning, Glenn, the N hoarder. Happy birthday, Glenn, with one N. But you did include the other one in quotes there. I appreciate it. I already gave it an extra N above. I appreciate that. Some people, when they text me, they only spell my name with one N. Just so you know, my name is not Glenn. It's Glenn. See, hear the difference there? Yeah, okay. Just making sure. 846, wake up.
This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Guernsey says, happy birthday, Glenn. Hope you have a great day. No snow here in Guernsey. You missed out, huh? Heidi John over in Granite Canyon. I got a lot of snow. Says, what happens if we use 3 N's in your name? Then, how far do you want me to go with Glenn? For a while, it gets annoyed, right? And Hollywood and Laramie. Glenn, I'm 66. How old are you today? I have hit the big 60. Off we go to the icebox, Frank Campino's.
Well, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Did you shovel the walks this morning?
I did, yes.
That's a pretty good job for a Florida guy.
Yes.
You got half of it at least.
Yes. No, I was not going to go get every little thing. It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
So, but you went out there.
Yeah, I went out there, yes. And I decided
let's give him a standing O for that one.
I just wanted to make sure when you got here this morning, you didn't fall on your butt.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so, okay.
You got to climb over the windrows in the middle of the street, but that's okay.
And I'm not going to get out there and do a perfect job. I just want to make sure it's safe for you. So, and also the satellite dish.
Needs to be swept, yes.
Yes, so I brushed all the snow off the satellite dish at the same time, too. I was busy for a 60-year-old guy.
Yes, you were in the middle of winter from a guy from Florida.
Yeah, there you go. See? Guy from Florida knows how to... Look, I'm a talk show host. I know how to shovel it.
Florida man, yes. Florida man shovels snow in Wyoming.
That's right, yeah. Real quick here, those all-you-can-eat buffets.
Yeah, I like them.
Somebody decided to put that to the test.
How much you could possibly eat.
Yes, so he fasted for a while and then showed up to stuff himself. The short story is, with most restaurants, there is a limit.
Oh, no, I think some of those owners will go, hey, that's enough.
That's just...
That is enough. You've gotten enough.
Do, and I'm not trying to be mean here, but when someone who's like really, really big shows up.
Hey, well, part of it is... the restaurant put the buffet out there.
They did, and they say
all you can eat.
Yeah.
Then they changed their mind after a guy's been at a table for an hour. Okay,
I see a lawsuit waiting to happen here.
All right, former Wyoming Cowboys in football with some sharp performances in the NFL last week. Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen was 24 of 34 for 289 yards and 2 touchdown passes as the Bills beat Seattle 31-10. Cincinnati middle linebacker and Casper native Logan Wilson with 7 tackles, and the Bengals 31-17 loss to Philadelphia. And Laramie native Frank Crum was in there for the Denver Broncos on the offensive line for 1 snap and 2 snaps on special teams in their 28-14 win over Carolina. Wyoming Cowboy football team will have a road game at New Mexico coming up on Saturday afternoon at 1-7. The season has been an unmitigated disaster for the Pokes after a 2-point home loss to lowly Utah State last week. However, UW will get running back Harrison Whaley back in the lineup this week. He's been out with a knee injury. He was the team's leading rusher from a year ago. Receiver T.K. King will be out with a concussion after he was drilled by a Utah State defender right in the head. The guy used his shoulder pad, which is why he wasn't flagged for targeting, although that rule needs to be rewritten. King got a concussion out of the deal on a direct hit to his head. Isn't that what targeting is? Receiver Alex Brown broke his leg in the game. He's out for the year. The Cowboys are 7.5-point underdogs in the contest. As a 2 o'clock kick on Saturday from Albuquerque. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. High school volleyball regional tournaments start Friday and run through Saturday statewide. In 4A, the East Regional will be at Cheyenne South. And on Friday, Laramie gets the first round bye. Cheyenne East plays Cheyenne Central at noon. South will take on Thunder Basin at 3. The 4A West Regional will be in Evanston. Kelly Walsh draws Riverton in the first round on Friday, and the Toronto takes on Star Valley. Top 4 teams from the East and the top 4 teams from the West qualify for in 4A will qualify for the high school volleyball tournament that will be next week at the Fort Center in Casper. JUCO volleyball, Casper College is 8-22 on the year following a loss to Western Wyoming and a win over Gillette College last week. Birds will be at LCCC on Friday in Cheyenne. L-Trip is 10-18 on the year with losses last week to Central Wyoming and Northwest DePaul. And in baseball, the New York Yankees finally won a game in the World Series. They crushed the Los Angeles Dodgers last night 11-4, but the Dodgers lead the World Series 3-1, and Game 5 will be tonight in the Big Apple. That's it in sports.
Speaking of Florida boy and snow, I discovered something that, when your car is really buried and you're going to spend a while brushing. Okay, go get yourself a big, soft bristled push broom.
Yeah.
And I do that.
Whatever works for you, really.
I found out after using that little brush, we had a lot of snow last night.
Oh, yeah. Well, it takes you more sweeps.
Yes, if I have a big push broom with soft bristles so I don't hurt my paint job, I can clear my car in about a minute or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So you raise your arms tall enough to get the roof with the big broom.
There you go. So you don't have a snow hat driving down the road, which all cleans off your windshield at the first traffic light.
Yes, very true.
Right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business. We do have a guest coming up for the next hour of this program, and we get back to open phones. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
It's fraud.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we go. Now, we'll get open phones going again in just a few minutes. Right now, guest in my studio, Jared Stack, and he's in the Natrona County area, and he wants to talk about the 6 cent tax, which is on the ballot. And I would also like, if you could, explain this is not just for one thing. There's
Yeah, sure.
quite a few items on the ballot that I noticed.
Yeah, Glenn, thanks for having me on this morning. I'm really excited to be here. So there's actually 8 propositions on the ballot here in Casper, which are all going individually. So you can vote for 1, you can vote for 0, you can vote for all 8. And they're all going for different capital projects that we'll use what we call the spec tax, or what is kind of colloquial, the 6 cent tax to fund those projects.
Some of the ones that I look at, I think, are really pretty obvious to me, like, well, fire station. Oh, absolutely. Check that one off, fire station. Some of the others, though, I wanted more information on. I wonder if you know where people can get more information. Like, for example, I'm in favor of the 911 call center. They need an upgrade. But I always wonder, how much does that really cost?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you can kind of look at the 8 proposals, and they kind of fall into two different categories. One of them is kind of that safety stuff, right? So there's there's a new fire station, or getting started on that fire station, number 1. There's the 911 center. There's Metro Animal Shelter, and the kind of other ones are more like livability, quality of life kind of things. So you can go to so I'm kind of representing the PAC that is in favor of this. Our website is yesforspec.org.
Okay.
spec.org, and there's more information on all of that. And actually, the city of Casper has put together really good information around that as well, and exactly what it's going to, and the costs, and the estimates, and the breakdowns, and all that kind of stuff. The 911 center is a good one. When you look at the number, you're like, that's really expensive for what I feel like is, and I'm a tech guy.
Yeah.
Should be a couple servers and some stuff, but that technology is actually, it's changed a lot. Our technology is pretty dated that we have today, and it probably need of an upgrade.
Okay. There's a good idea if people can see a breakdown for things like that. But let's talk about how the money is split up.
Sure.
This I was also curious about. So there's no way that everything that's listed on the ballot is going to get through.
I probably agree with you on that.
Okay.
It could, but
I kind of doubt.
But I think I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
So let's just pretend, for the sake of argument, that 50% of the things that are listed there make it through, and people say yes to that.
Yep.
Well, but the extra penny still raises the same amount of money. So I guess, does it get divvied up between?
So it doesn't, and I'm really glad you asked that question, because this is kind of a difference in how the 6 cent works than like the 5th cent works.
Okay.
So the 6 cent will only be around until it's raised the money for the projects that were approved.
Got it. All right.
So let's say we only approved half of them.
Right.
That 6th penny will only be around for a year.
Okay.
And then it goes away after the half of the projects that got voted on all get approved, and then it goes back to the 5th penny. So,
gotcha. Okay. Because again, the way things get divvied up, it's a sales tax basically.
It is a sales tax.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And what is included on the sales tax and what's not?
Yeah. So it's just like the first 5 cents, right?
Okay.
So it's really kind of what you can think of as like discretionary items. So there's no groceries, no gasoline, no prescriptions, none of that are included in that sales tax. So it's only like, me buying a new flat screen TV or a new F-150, or my company buying a new $20,000 computer server. Those are the kind of things that
But
the 6
if I go to the grocery store or I fill up my gas tank, it doesn't affect any of that.
Correct.
Okay. How much is the hope for in being raised during that time?
So if all 8 propositions were approved, it'll be about $35 million.
Okay.
And that will keep that 6 penny around for about 2 years.
Okay. If all of them.
Yeah.
If all of them. Okay, but let's go back to, but if half of them.
Sure. So like the cheapest one, you guys online can't see my air quotes, but the cheapest one is the band shelter at Washington Park, right? It's $1.5 million. So if let's pretend that that's the only one that passes.
Okay.
Then the tax will be around for about a month.
Gotcha. Just so you raise the money for that.
For that project. And this is a little bit of misconception out there. That's the only thing that money can be used for. So it doesn't, like if it raises a little extra, that doesn't go into some slush fund that the city can do whatever they want with. Like it's very specific, which I think is kind of cool about this tax. So us as the voters get to pick specifically, here's what you're going to spend the money on. That's the only thing you can spend the money on.
And this is something that I do find pleasantly unique about a state like Wyoming, is in order for government to do some of these projects, they have to turn to the taxpayers and say, do you want to spend money on this, yes or no?
Yep, exactly. I think it's kind of the beauty specifically around this spec tax too, is it's really, really unique to that one thing. And they're big capital projects that we as a community just need to decide if we want to have or not.
Okay. Now, besides, because you mentioned a website there, which I want to make sure that people go to that website. So let's say I decide we'll talk about the band, which I got a chance to go into, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
That was open because Town Square Media would do our Bear Trap Festival, and we had it that year.
It was down here this year, yeah.
And I saw some people setting up, and I thought, I'm going inside. Mm-hmm. It's interesting down below. I mean, it's got a whole downstairs and everything. It was actually kind of an interesting little maze to walk around and see how that operates. Okay, so if somebody wanted some more information, besides going to the website, is there anyone they can talk to? Because some of these projects are a little more complicated than a website could show us.
Sure. Yeah. So for a lot of them, the larger ones, there are user groups that are pretty active on social media and have their own websites. Like one of the larger ones is the Second Sheet of Ice, right?
Yeah.
That maybe we can talk about. They have their own website. They have their own user groups on social media that you can go to, and those people are very active and also proponents of that.
They were also on this program.
Oh, great.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, when I first heard Second Sheet of Ice, I thought, the ice isn't thick enough? No. To expand it out to the side, a second sheet of ice out to the side, so they can have more programs going.
So you could, for example, have 2 hockey games going on at once, right?
Sure.
Or figure skating and hockey, or if the Canadians want to come have curling here, they can they could do that as well.
Another one of them is up at Hogannon Ski Resort, and there's a chairlift up there that needs to be repaired. So my first thought was, I guess that the ski resort's not earning enough money to just repair it. They need it from somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think that statement's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that ski resort, it doesn't run in the black, right? We as a community subsidize that because, our kids use it and the high school ski teams use it and that kind of stuff. And it's pretty aging. And there's some stuff that upgrades need to do. And some of those upgrades are pretty exciting, in my opinion. I'm not a big skier. It's been a few years since I've had skis on. But part of that is adding, like, mountain biking parts to the lift. So in the summer, you can go up there and mountain bike up and down and take your bike, which allows them to be open much longer, get higher revenues, and hopefully get closer so that subsidy's a lot smaller.
Yeah. I did ski for a while, but did you ever watch the Wild World of Sports opening? That poor skier went tumbling down.
I think we're dating ourselves a little bit.
That was me.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it was really?
So no, not really on the television show. But I did that, and that kind of ended my skiing days. After that, I thought that hurt enough that I think I'll just give it up. All right. Yeah. So how many items?
There's 8.
8 items all together on there. It's okay if you can't. Can you list them?
I'm pretty sure I can.
Oh, go for it.
So so there's the new Metro Animal Shelter.
Yeah.
There's the upgrades to the 911 center. There's acquisition and design costs for Firehouse Number 1. There's the second sheet of ice at the rec center. There's an additional gym at the rec center. There's the band shell, the upgrades to the band shell. There is fast pitch softball fields, and there's Hogadon.
Okay,
that's the 8. Yeah,
that's pretty good. So now the website where they can get more information, and apparently information where they can talk to someone if they want more information. So where do they go?
Yeah, they can go to yesforspec.org or go to our social media accounts, which is the same, yesforspec.org. And actually, the city of Casper, if you Google the spec tax, they have really good information that will point you towards some of those user groups as well, so they can get more information.
And we have just a little while to go, so do your homework. Or you and I were talking about this before we got on the air here. Do your homework before you show up and vote. Yeah. That way you know what this is, because those are quite a few items to put on one ballot.
Yeah, and it is 8 different votes.
Yeah.
So like you're mentioning, like do your homework on all 8 propositions, and go decide if these are the kind of livability things that we want in Casper, or if it's something that you don't support. But there's 8 different things you need to vote for. So do your homework on that, and please go vote between now and next Tuesday.
Okay. That website address one more time?
Yesforspec.org.
It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So for those who are just listening, I was getting a lot of comments, which I'm sorry I couldn't respond to while I had the guests in here, but I was watching your comments. If you just missed it, for Natrona County, there's a gentleman who's with a group that's pushing for a 6-penny tax. And I like the way he explained it. So it's a little different in Wyoming. I'm glad we have the system this way. Let's say your local community needs some money for a project. Now, we'll take one that I would be in favor of. We really need to fix up our fire station. That's something that is the role of government. Okay. In order to do that, can we raise a extra penny on your sales tax? And that does not include food and gas and things like that. But other stuff, if I went out and bought a new shirt today, for example, it'd be something like that. And that tax is only there until they raise. So let's just say, I'm just going to pick a number. It's the rehab of the fire department is going to cost us $1 million. Once they reach $1 million, the tax is over. So in that sense, I like the way Wyoming does it. Now, I do have some questions sometimes. For example, in Natrona County, and they want to fix up and modernize their 911 system. I like that idea. But I also look at the price tag for that and I wonder why so much. Well, I'm glad there are people around that can try to answer that question for me. Now, Jay, who's in, and as I talk about this doesn't matter where you live in Wyoming. This is the case where you live. And every so often, look on your ballot when you go to vote this time around. Do your homework in advance because quite a few of you do have, depends on where you live, quite a few of you do have an extra penny option for various items. All right, so Jane Casper said, Glenn, I voted no on each and every one of them. The reason I questioned Tom Bauer at the Central Committee meeting the other night, they are on the hook for $25 million for remediation on that cop shop. Money in the hands of city government is like water through a colander. The incompetence and excesses of the city government are beyond pale. Okay. So what's nice is, Jay, that was your decision as a voter. You can go ahead and make that decision. You make the call. Take a look at it and think, are they not just is it worth it for, is it something that our town really needs? Again, wherever you might be in Wyoming, is it something that our town needs? But also, does the money get spent responsibly? Which is why sometimes I question, this is going to cost how much exactly? Really? And so you got to take a look at that. Now, you know me, I'm more of the libertarian kind of guy. I am a tightwad when it comes to your money. I really am. And there's many things that are proposed that I would not vote for because I don't think it's the proper role of government to be involved in some of these projects. There's very few things that I want government doing, which is why I'm really stingy when it comes to voting for some of these things. Other people might vote for every single one of them. But at least in the state of Wyoming, it is your call. And again, the way this is set up, whatever there's in Fort Natrona County, there's 8 items that he listed when he was here. So you have these 8 items, and you get to go through and take a look at each and every one of those items and decide, do I want this? Do I want that? Yes, no, yes, no. And so the penny is for each and every item. So if you only vote for, let's say, 2 items, then that's all that money's going to go for. And as soon as they raise that money, they're done. See what I'm saying? I like the way Wyoming does it better than other states, because in other states, you wouldn't get a choice. Be glad you live here. In other states, the city council or county commission, whichever it might be, will just decide, well, we're going to spend money on this and we're going to raise your taxes this way to spend money on this. And they just go ahead and do it despite what the public says. I am in 100% favor of making your local government go to you, hat in hand. It's election time. Can we raise money for this, please? I want them to have to do that. Because that way you're in charge of this. Morning, Tim. Tim says, so money wasted by the city. Now they want extra tax to compensate for the lack of thrifty spending. Now, there's a good, I think that's an interesting topic to bring up. Some people take a look at what the city is spending and will say that, well, the city's already making enough money. Why do we need to give them more? You already have enough money to pay for these projects. Why do you need more? In which case, I would say, well, then to answer that question, go dig into the city budget a little bit more and then decide whether they have the money for that or not. Because I've oftentimes had discussions with members of different city councils around the state of Wyoming, not just, even up in Gillette, places like that. You tell us you don't have the money for this, but you got this much money sitting over here in reserve. Why do you want to raise a tax when you have all of this money sitting in reserve over here? Why not just go ahead and use what we have in reserve? There it is. These are the kinds of questions which are worth asking, worth talking about. Also, a good reason for people to keep up with what's going on with their local government, and not just around election time. Breaks my heart when I see so many people, well, they have a city council meeting, for example, or a county commission meeting. Nobody's in the room. The room's empty. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, I'm busy, or I've had a long day. I can't go to these meetings. That's okay. These days, with modern technology, you can still keep up with what's going on. So you don't have to, not every single detail, but you can at least monitor what's going on, because most every single city and county out there have websites where they post this information but also post videos of their discussions. So if you're ever wondering what's going on, you can go ahead and keep up with it. That helps you become an informed voter. But as I said, everything that we talked about, and as our guest said, everything we talked about is on a website. So you can go ahead and take a look at it. It's got details. And then you can go ahead and decide. So when you get the ballot, you're not guessing. You've already made up your mind. Morning, Micah. Micah is in Cheyenne. She says, what's the weather forecast around Wyoming for now? Around Wyoming for November 5th. Maybe vote early. Here's the deal, Micah. I was talking with Don Day this morning, as I do every morning at 7:45. We really don't know. Yeah, the weather models are having a tough time with that. And so are the meteorologists. That's one of the reasons I voted early. And by the way, a lot of people in Wyoming and around the nation have already voted early anyway. We got a couple of nice days coming up here, so if you get a chance to go out and vote, do. Because whether you want to go out and vote on Election Day itself on the 5th, the weather is questionable. In other words, not bad, they just don't know. But if you think about this, all that we're talking about is not very far away. Because Tuesday, November 5th, we're talking next Tuesday, folks. Today is Wednesday. We're talking next Tuesday. So between now and then, get your vote in. Make up your mind on these things. All right, coming up on some local business. Open phones, too. 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject. Fine by me. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Friday.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so a little while ago, I was broadcasting out of our studios in Cheyenne, Wyoming at KGAB, right there in downtown, which is on Capitol, which means the Capitol is 2 blocks away from the A&B Bank building where the studios are, and I'm kind of high up in the building. And I was able to look down on the corner, Capitol and 20th. Now, this was first thing in the morning, a little after 6 a.m. It was still dark out. And the lights have just started to change. So normally they're blinking, overnight. But now they've just started to go through their cycles, including the pedestrian walk. And I was telling you, I saw a guy walk up the street, up Capitol. And when he got to 20th, he stopped and stood there and waited for the pedestrian walk to count down. 13, 12, 11. And I'm up there looking down and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? There's nobody here. There's no cars out here. There's nothing going on. 3, 2. Finally, it changes for him, and he walks across Capitol. I'm thinking, what do you want to bet he's going to turn and walk across? Walk across 20th. What do you want to bet he's going to turn and now walk across Capitol, too? Sort of do a little L shape there, right? And he did, and he stood there, and he waited again for the pedestrian counter. 10, 9, 8. You just go. Just go. I wanted to open up, because even on way up in a tall building, I can open up one of the windows. Kind of comes down, kind of turns down at an angle. It's not a slide-up window. And I could have just yelled out, for the love of God, just go. He wouldn't have known where it was coming from. I was really tempted to do it. I should have. Finally, the pedestrian walk changes, and he walks across the road. And I'm thinking, I would have literally jaywalked. I mean, the real jaywalk, cut across at an angle. And instead of going across one street, then the other. And I wouldn't have waited for the lights. I would have just had my head on a swivel, watching for any traffic that might come, but there's nobody there. Well, the first comment that I got on that, Somebody asked, was he wearing a mask? Yeah, I understand. I do. Now, at the time, I had to go ahead and look up. If I did this right, I looked up Wyoming and also Cheyenne laws on this and ordinances. And really, you're not going to get a ticket anywhere in Wyoming that I'm aware of for jaywalking. You won't. They don't care. If you want to cross in the middle of the street, go ahead. I do it all the time. But it's your responsibility as the pedestrian to watch out. If you're going to step out like that, it's on you. And the same thing goes for the drivers out there. Caution, pedestrians might step out in front of you, and they have the right of way, so watch out. Got that? All right, now, headline, crossing against the light won't get you a ticket anymore. It's now legal in New York City. New York City is slowly catching up to Wyoming. Jaywalking, that time-honored practice crossing against or outside of the crosswalk or against a traffic light, is now legal in New York City. Legislation passed by the city council last month that officially became law over the weekend. The mayor declined to, it's kind of like here in Wyoming, if the governor doesn't sign the bill, it becomes law anyway. So he just didn't sign it, became law anyway. One council member, a Brooklyn Democrat, who sponsored the legislation, said Tuesday, the new law ends, oh, here we go, racial disparities in enforcement. No, it doesn't. Noting that more than 90% of jaywalking tickets issued in the last year went to black and Latino people. Well, maybe they're doing most of the jaywalking. Never thought about that, but all right. Let's be real. Every New Yorker jaywalks. People are simply trying to get where they need to go, said the legislation. It doesn't do any of the, it disproportionately affects. It does not. All right. The new law permits pedestrians to cross the roadway at any point, including outside of a crosswalk. It also allows for crossing against traffic signals and specifically states that doing so is no longer a violation of the city's administrative code. By the new law, it also warns that pedestrians crossing outside of they do not have the right of way. Let me do that again because this is an important difference here. The new law warns that pedestrians walking outside of the crosswalk no longer have the right of way. They only have the right of way if they're in the crosswalk and going with the light. One spokesperson declined to elaborate on the mayor's decision to let the bill just become law without action. All road users are safer when everyone follows the rules, they say. Now, I'm in favor of following the rules when it makes sense to follow the rules. And what I mean by that is I have actually crossed at that very intersection in Cheyenne at an angle like that. I just walked. There was nobody there. It was early morning. In fact, I've even done that in the middle of the day. I got to the intersection, I looked around, and there was nobody there. I'll just walk across. But when there has been traffic there, that's when I stop and go, oh, okay, well, it's a good idea at this point to go ahead and use the lights. Because there's people here, and we need to cooperate with each other. And if we follow the lights, then everything will work out just fine. But not always, though. I recently, I was up in Casper, and I had to cross to get to City Hall. And I noticed that the lady waiting at the light as I walked in front of her, she's doing what I always worry that people do. She was sitting there with both hands on the wheel, but she's looking up at the light. And she's not looking at anything else. And when that light changes, she's going to go, which is a big problem. Because a lot of times people only pay attention to what the signals are telling them to do, and they're not looking around to see if there's any people out there. Now, other cities and states, Denver, Kansas City, Missouri, California, Nevada, and Virginia, have decriminalized at the same, and pretty much all at the same time, too. So more and more in America, you can go ahead and jaywalk. Just remember now, if you do, it's all on you. You're the one who made that choice. Which is how I think it should be. 9:43, Wake Up.
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino's waiting by. So, Frank, I get to post my yearly article today.
Yes, about?
That's automobile snow hats have returned.
Automobile snow hats.
Yes. Think about it a moment.
Snow on the roof.
Yes.
Okay.
So when somebody goes and wipes every part of it, get the windshield down.
Yep.
Go ahead and get your mirrors and so you can see behind you.
Yeah.
You know. But are you going to go ahead and reach all the way up there and do all the work to remove all of that snow off your roof?
Well, you know what? If you have a garage, the answer is yes. Because all that stuff will melt on the floor and then makes everything that's on the garage floor wet and maybe ruined.
Right.
So normally, like if you start driving on the highway, you'll have that, the wind will take that thing and make it like clean as the driven snow.
You want the cleanest windshield that you'll ever have when you pull up to the next stoplight or stop sign, and it all slides forward.
Yeah. And then your wipers don't work.
Yes, of course. Now you have to get out and do the walk of shame around your door to go to the windshield to push all of that snow off. But that is going to be the cleanest windshield when that snow slides down.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about doing that. It happens to everybody.
Yes. Well, yeah. In fact,
as a matter of fact, I think people do it on purpose, that they hit the brakes real hard so the stuff will slide down, and then maybe the wipers will work, and they don't have to go out there at all.
Now, don't tell anybody I said this, okay?
No.
For a little while there, I had the Wake Up Wyoming. I call it the radio flyer. That was that Ford F-150.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, the bed would fill up with snow. And so what I would do is I would get up on a hill, and I would drop the tailgate, and I would floor it. And all the snow would just come spilling out the back.
What kind of redneck idea is that?
Exactly. God.
That is. It's creative. It has
is.
ingenuity.
It is.
It's
effective.
It screams laziness.
It does.
But still.
It absolutely does. But have you ever tried that with a snow hat? You decide, hey, if I take this hill and floor it, maybe all the snow will fall off behind me.
It doesn't work that way, I think. I wish it did.
Yeah.
But the next time you do that with any kind of truck like that, I need to video that to make sure.
Oh my God, it's just a lot of fun actually. But here's what I did find though, and I think I mentioned this to you earlier this morning. It's just a great idea. Just get yourself a soft bristled push broom. That way, if your car's outside and you get a lot of snow on it, you just pull that out of the back, assuming your vehicle is big enough to handle a push broom.
Yeah.
And just walk around, just pushing all of that snow off. It's really easy to do. That little wiper that you get at that doesn't really no that's good for your windshield, nothing else. Folks, I would say go ahead and give that a try. If you have, just get yourself a push broom.
I'll buy it. Wyoming Cowboy football team will play at New Mexico on Saturday afternoon in Albuquerque at 1-7. The wheels have completely come off for the Pokes after a 2-point loss to lowly Utah State last week at home, no less. UW will get running back Harrison Whaley back in the lineup this week. He's been out with a knee injury. He was the team's leading rusher a year ago. Receiver TK King will be out with a concussion. He was drilled by a Utah State defender in the head in that game on Saturday. And the guy used his shoulder pad, which why he wasn't flagged for targeting, although that rule needs to be completely rewritten. King got a concussion out of that deal, helmet or no helmet, shoulder pad or no shoulder pad, on a direct hit to the head. That's targeting. Receiver Alex Brown broke his leg in that game on Saturday, so he's out for the year. Cowboys are 7.5-point dogs in Saturday's game. That's a 2 p.m. start, and we'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. Some former Wyoming Cowboys had sharp performances over the weekend in the NFL. Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen, 24 of 34 for 289 yards and 2 touchdown passes as the Bills beat Seattle 31-10. Cincinnati middle linebacker and Casper native Logan Wilson with 7 tackles in the Bengals 31-17 loss to Philadelphia. And Laramie native Frank Crum was in there for a snap on the Denver Bronco offensive line and a couple of snaps on special teams as the Broncos beat Carolina 28-14. High school volleyball regional tournaments will be statewide Friday and Saturday. In 4A, the East Regional will be at Cheyenne South. And then on Friday, Laramie gets the first round bye. Cheyenne East plays Cheyenne Central at noon. South will take on Thunder Basin at 3. The 4A West Regional will be in Evanston. Kelly Walsh draws Riverton in the first round on Friday, and the Toronto will take on Star Valley. Top 4 teams from the East and the top 4 teams from the West will qualify for the state high school volleyball tournament that will be next week in Casper. JUCO volleyball, Casper College is 8-22 on the year following a loss to Western Wyoming and a win over Gillette College last week. Birds will be at LCCC on Friday in Cheyenne. LCCC is 10-18 on the year with losses to Central Wyoming and Northwest DePaul over the weekend. And in baseball, tonight will be Game 5 of the World Series. The New York Yankees finally won a game in that deal. They beat the LA Dodgers 11-4 last night, but the Dodgers lead the Fall Classic 3-1. That's it in sports.
So okay, your prediction at the end.
I think the Dodgers are going to win.
They're going to win.
You know, maybe not
Yeah.
tonight. You know, but I think it's going to go. I think the Yankees will probably win tonight. Then they will clinch the series at home coming up on Friday.
Okay, but then if it's on Friday, then we go to another stadium, right?
Yes. It goes back to California for Friday and Saturday.
There's a lot of flying back and forth with these.
You know, it's amazing how jets work. You sit down.
Yeah, you kind of
it
relax.
Goes,
yeah, I prefer to be up front, but that's where all the work and all the fun is there. But okay, and then. But there's nobody in California that's going to rip somebody's glove off and try to steal the ball.
Oh no, they fight the fans fight each other in the parking lot.
Oh, is that what they do?
Yeah.
Okay. So in New York they fight each other in the stands.
Yes, yeah. And in Los Angeles it's outside
outside
the park. Yeah.
Wake Up